Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party and my buddy Rhett. It is 8:11 a.m. and we are just doing some coding. I think I might have missed a meeting yesterday. Like I woke up at like 2 in the morning. I was just like, oh crap, I think I missed our retro, which is weird because Outlook never popped up a reminder or anything. And I've never ever missed meetings, but I do think that I don't know about a few months ago I kind of came to the conclusion that the universe sort of puts you where you belong, and wherever you are, you need to learn whatever it is you need to learn, and if you don't, it's just going to keep happening to you. I never miss meetings. I mean, I just don't. I don't miss meetings. I'm almost always early to meetings, and I try really really hard to always be prepared for meetings. So I guess this may be the universe saying, "Hey, dude, you need to learn how to function when things don't all go right, especially and even when you mess up. If even if it's all 100% your fault, you still need to learn how you can't just have some kind of meltdown because you're I don't know, got some PTSDs from your younger days or something like that. Um, when I was in the Navy, missing something like a meeting was like a could ruin your life. I mean, you could like it could the potential like the things that could happen to you were for reals. Whereas like I guess in the corporate world, like you don't want to miss meetings. You don't. You want to go to meetings. You want to be prepared. You want to I don't know. I think one of the things that I do that's probably a mistake is I th- I kind of heard this thing once where you have two eyes or you have one mouth and two ears, so you should listen twice as much as you talk. But it seems like if you want to be successful in corporate world, you need to really participate as well as not just listen and absorb what's going on, but also like inject your thoughts and all that. So I have been trying to do that, but then so I've been a lot more active in meetings lately, but apparently this last meeting I was not. Now it is possible that I'll log in and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, now that meeting was for next Tuesday or something, but I think it was yesterday. I think I missed one, so I don't know. Tomorrow I'll probably talk a little bit about missing meetings and dealing with your boss after you miss a meeting and apologizing and stuff like that. But anyways, so I think I want to do, I don't remember what I said. I just watched the video and I don't remember what I said yesterday I was going to do next, but I think I like I like working in my ST side. That's my favorite place to work. And so I'm going to start in there and let's go ahead and just dig in. We know we have 19 of 24 statements covered and half the functions. Okay, and so we got this get renderer ID. So what we could do is get a base renderer and then it will return an ID and then we just retrieve that ID. That is probably why, now that I think about it, that's probably why I prefer working on this side of the world is because it gets its own ID and everything. When we're working on the three side, we have to generate an ID, which is a little bit more work and it feels a little dirtier than that. So anyways, so the name of this is ST render service. So I'm just going to copy this name. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to hit Control P, and then I'm going to hit V, and Control V was to paste. And I would paste that in there, and now it took me sort of do a double check, and then my spec is in the same folder, which I really like that. And then I'm going to say it should retrieve renderer by ID. That's a good name. Retrieve a renderer by ID. And I do think one of the major benefits of unit tests. Okay, so just to be clear, I have not decided whether I think it's a good idea to do unit tests or not. I have definitely enjoyed and benefited from doing unit tests. Have I brought value to this project with unit tests? I don't know. I just don't know. And it's going to be almost impossible for me to determine that in a year. Like, was it actually worth doing? Because I'm learning a lot of things about this code that I just wrote, and like idiosyncrasies, and like just the fact that I enjoy working on this T side better, and I like it because it's more standalone. It can do its own things. So I just don't know. I just can't. So like, if if I was in an interview and they're like I know one guy that I work with, it's like you must do unit tests. Unit tests must happen. Period. Blah 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 blah. Like he's like, do you know? Have you written unit tests? Okay, then you know. And I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know. He never gives me a chance to answer the question, so I've never answered it. But cost ID, and that's going to be a number, and that's more of. I think I'm doing that just so that I can remember. Or so I can pound that into my brain. And then it is, I thought it was, oh yeah, get base render. And I don't have to give it nothing. So that's always nice. And then const render, st render. And that is a st renderer. That is one of these things, and it just automatically brought that in for me. And the imports up here, I always like to look up and just check that. And then, and you can't always, right? You just can't, service. You can't always just look up it and see it. You know, like eventually these unit tests will get big enough that, you know, it's not going to be on the screen. But if it is on the screen, it is helpful to look up and just make sure that it's stid. And then I'm going to expect, just make sure it's all the same. stid dot to, no, equal to equal st render, and that is stid. No. Is it just ID? I think I wanted it to be stid. Oh, st renderer ID. And let's hit save. What should we see? I think we should see the number of statements go down to 20, or go up to 20 of 24, and we should see our functions go up to 3 out of 4. And it may all go haywire because we learned yesterday that when you run this in, and you have it rerun, it's a different behavior than if you run it fresh. And sometimes it's better when you run it fresh. Okay, so yeah, our functions went up to 75%, our statements went up to 83%, and we are at 20 of 24. So basically all we have to do is now do this where we tell it to render it by ID, which should just be literally just calling with what we just had. I do want to go back over here just to, yeah, see. Now, sometimes I have worked at places where like I have been in situations and worked at places where it's the other way around, where like the first time it breaks, but then the second time it passes. And we kind of go like that for a long time, and it'll be like, whatever, I don't know why it fails. It doesn't do well the first time and the second time. And then sooner or later, that becomes part of the pipeline. Like if you're doing unit tests, you're going to end up they're going to end up doing pipelines and stuff. And the pipeline always builds everything like from scratch. So like there was one place that like I worked that in order to identify that something to actually emulate what was happening, you had to delete your node modules and reinstall everything and then run the unit test from scratch. Because that's what happens in the pipeline. And so everything had to pass in that context. So this is a problem, right? We really want it to behave the same way on startup as on progressive, like whenever it runs again. So that is, and then we also want it to, and I probably won't go down this far on this project, but we would also ideally like it to, on install, have the same results. And you can write the code to do that. It's ridiculous that that is on the developer, and that adds a tremendous amount of time to finishing a project. And it can make trying to get even the simplest thing done in a 2-week span an absolute nightmare. And that's what kind of turns 2-week sprints into absolute misery. And what's the worst part about it is that it's extraordinarily difficult to explain that. Like generally in most software development environments, I've found that managers and leadership that you deal with directly are incredibly understanding, but you have to be able to explain things to them in a way that that makes sense, and that doesn't make any sense. Like that could be that's a hard thing to explain, is that this software doesn't work consistently in all situations. But now it is consistently. It was. Oh, what did I just do? So it seems like it did break. You know what? I might even be completely wrong on that time. That's another issue. Is like, yeah, because it was already breaking over here. The app part was the piece that broke last time, and I don't even know if that broke last time. But we do have one less thing that looks bad. So we do want to get tomorrow, because it is already 8:23 for me, so I have to start working 37 minutes, and I have to figure out, I'm going to need a little more time to figure out if I missed a meeting yesterday, and then reach out to my boss and explain what I'm going to change so that I don't miss meetings again in the future. I think what I'm going to do is first thing in the morning, I'm just going to get a notepad thing up, and I'm going to write down all my meetings. And actually in my stand-up, I'm going to say, at this point, I don't have any meetings on my thing. And then if something popped, I think the meeting popped up right after stand-up, and I like to send and I like to acknowledge that I'm going, hit OK, and add it to my very quickly, so that I look super responsive, because I am super responsive. And I think it just slipped off my radar. So at that point, I should have then, if I had had a little notepad that was up already, I could have just said meetings today and then written that down. So anyways, as you could probably tell, I'm definitely feeling a tremendous amount of anxiety about missing the meeting. I feel really bad about it. But I'm definitely not the first person or the only person to miss a meeting. And I haven't missed many meetings this year at this job. I think I missed one other meeting at one point. Actually, I don't think I missed a meeting. I think I did miss a phone call where I was sitting on my computer and the thing never told me that I was getting a phone call. Ring Central is just awful. It's just a terrible, terrible application. It's got all kinds of problems. I don't know anyone who uses it. I don't know. I'm not saying no one that uses it doesn't like it, but I don't know anyone that uses it that likes it. You got a serious problem with getting spam phone calls. You get all these spam calls from automated systems that are calling you trying to buy your house and stuff like that. It's really, in a work application, you're going to get calls from some random person trying to buy your house. Recruiters call me on it. It's ridiculous. But anyways, so yeah, this is render by ID will be tomorrow. That should be super simple. I kind of am so tempted to just do it now, but that's how we get on rabbit holes that end up taking me a bunch of time. So tomorrow we'll get that, and then after that we'll get this guy probably on Saturday. Hopefully on Saturday I can do this and this, because I usually take a little more time on Saturdays. Get those two done, and then Sunday hopefully I can do my end-to-end. Basically, I think everything should work on the end-to-end, but I do need to add one more test, one more end-to-end test to handle like another. So I have one test that's like test homepage, and then another one to test the component, and then I'll do a commit, because I feel like we have the basic sans the animations. We'll have the basic foundations of the architecture complete. Then I'll do the animations of animation, get that working, and then on and on and on. So I definitely think I'm on track to have this all done before the end of February. I have 7 days left in February, so hopefully, like the getting started is done, and all that. So, anyways, everybody, happy coding. Bye.